It was a Tuesday evening, one of those quiet, tired ones where the house feels like it's exhaling after a long day. I had just microwaved some leftover pad thai and was half watching a Mariners game with the volume down. My laptop was open on the coffee table, mostly out of habit. I guess I just liked having it nearby. I'm Darren. I'm 35, live in Tacoma, Washington, and work as a marine logistics analyst. Basically, I make sure shipping routes stay efficient and profitable. It's not glamorous, but it pays well and keeps my brain busy. Tessa, my wife, was on a business trip in Europe. Venice, I think. She runs this boutique travel company we started together called Luster Voyages. Actually, I funded most of it when we launched, back when she was still working at that big-name agency in Seattle. I put in $160,000 over 2 years and handled the back end while she built the brand. I remember I was about halfway through dinner when I saw the notification pop up. Instagram. Tessa had posted something. I almost ignored it, but habit won out. The image was glossy, obviously taken by a pro, her on a gondola with Brent, her junior associate, kneeling in front of her. Down on one knee. In a tailored navy suit with that smug-ass grin. Venice at sunset in the background like it was ripped from a honeymoon brochure. And the caption? My life's true voyage begins. I said yes. I stared at it. At first, I honestly thought I was seeing things wrong. Maybe it was a campaign post for Luster. Some marketing gimmick. I blinked, refreshed the page, even clicked on her profile. But no, it was real. Her friends were commenting. Congratulations. So happy for you. You deserve this. I put down my fork. I wasn't angry. Not yet. Just stunned. Like I had slipped through a crack in reality and ended up watching someone else's life. Because as far as I knew, I was still her husband. We had celebrated our 7th anniversary in January. We weren't fighting. We had plans for a trip to Whistler next month. I had literally transferred her part of the business tax payment last Friday. And now this. Emotion wanted to roar through me. Rage, betrayal, disbelief. But my brain just kicked into analysis mode. I opened the comments and typed, "Congratulations. The legal separation paperwork will arrive before the honeymoon itinerary." Then I took a screenshot of the post, her caption, and the comments. I emailed them to myself and to my lawyer's Dropbox. Then I sent the whole thing to her parents. No message. Just the image. I got up, dumped the rest of my pad thai in the trash, and opened a folder I hadn't looked at in years, the one labeled LV Foundation Docs. There it was, our original partnership agreement. My investment records. Ownership splits. 70-30. My name on all the capital lines. I sat back down, opened a fresh legal pad, and wrote one word at the top. War. And then I underlined it. Twice. The Instagram post vanished within 15 minutes. Deleted without a trace, as if that would make everything go away. Tessa's call started almost immediately. First 1, then 2, then 8 in a row. Her name kept flashing on my phone like a fire alarm. I didn't pick up. I just watched it ring from my seat at the kitchen counter while I sipped a glass of bourbon. No ice. Eventually, she switched to texts. Tessa, we need to talk. Please don't do anything stupid. Tessa, you're blowing this way out of proportion. Can we be adults here? Tessa, answer the phone, Darren. Now. Tessa, you are not shutting me out of the business. Don't even try. Tessa, you're being petty. This isn't helping anyone. It was a full-blown panic spiral alternating between fake calm and straight-up threats. But I didn't respond. Not to a single one. I had already locked the front door, and while I sipped, I opened our home automation app and began changing everything. Security code? Changed. Door locks? Reconfigured. Camera system? Rebooted. Then I went into the user permissions and revoked hers. She had always wanted smart home everything. Now she could admire it from the sidewalk. At 11:04 p.m. headlights swept across the driveway. A moment later, I heard the familiar jingle of her keys trying to unlock the front door. Then the handle jiggled. Once. Twice. Then a pounding. Darren. Open the door. Her voice was tight. Not tearful yet, but strained. We need to talk right now. I tapped the intercom button from my phone. Go home, Tessa. Are you serious? Let me in. We're not doing this like children. You're right, I said. Which is why I suggest you consult a lawyer before you try to enter a house you no longer have access to. Title's in my name, remember. There was silence on her end for a few seconds. I watched her shift from confusion to fury through the ring feed. You can't be serious. I am, I said. And if you want your things, we'll schedule a pickup with my attorney present. She stepped back from the door and stared into the camera like she was trying to intimidate a lens. You're ruining everything. You think this makes you look smart? You're torching the business. You're torching your life. No, Tessa, I said calmly. You did that. I'm just sweeping the ashes into a legal file. She stood there another minute, jaw clenched, then finally turned and stormed back to her car. Tires screeched out of the driveway a moment later. I went back to my computer, opened the business folder, and pulled up our incorporation docs for Luster Voyages, LLC. The numbers were all there. My $160,000 in capital contributions. My 70% stake. Her title as minority co-founder. I clicked print. Then I drafted an email to her parents. Subject line: your daughter's engagement. Attachments. Screenshot of the post. Our company's operating agreement. I scanned copy of the legal separation notice I had downloaded from the lawyer's shared folder. No message body. Just documents. I figured they could draw their own conclusions. Then I sat back, took another sip of bourbon, and stared at the ceiling. This wasn't about just a marriage collapsing. It wasn't about cheating either. This was theft. Business. Image. Investment. Time. She didn't just betray me. She tried to erase me. And now she was going to learn what happens when you screw over a man who deals in contracts, shipping routes, and ironclad logistics for a living. Because what she didn't realize yet was that I don't lose cargo. I reroute. I reclaim. And starting tonight, she was officially locked out of the house and the empire she thought she could steal. The call came around 9 a.m. the next morning, just as I was finishing my second cup of coffee and reviewing our merchant account dashboard. I let it ring twice before I picked up. The screen said Edmund R. Mobile. Tessa's father. Edmund, I answered, tone flat. There was a pause. Then, in the clipped, judgmental baritone he reserved for lectures and concerned family talks, he said, Darren, I was hoping we could discuss the situation with a bit more maturity. I didn't answer right away. I waited for him to fill the silence. He always did. Tessa is distraught. She said you locked her out of the house. That you're threatening to sabotage the business. I let out a quiet breath through my nose. She got engaged to her assistant. While still married. Publicly. In Venice. She made a mistake, he said. No, Edmund. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. Publicly announcing a new fiancé while your husband is still on the mortgage, that's a strategy. He sighed. You don't need to humiliate her. Especially not by dragging the company into it. She's always spoken so highly of how you two work together. That's because I built it, I cut in. I bankrolled Luster Voyages. 70% ownership. You've seen the paperwork. Or did she forget to mention that part when she was crying into her wine last night? He didn't reply. I could practically hear him grinding his teeth. I finished my coffee and set the mug down with a dull click. Listen, Edmund. I'm not here for a morality debate. I'm here to remind you that your daughter can't publicly torpedo her marriage and then expect to keep the yacht. You're bitter, he muttered. No, I said. I'm methodical. Then I hung up. 20 minutes later, while logging into the business bank account to double-check statements, I spotted something that made my chest go still for a second. A $3,200 charge. From Atelier Madeleine, a boutique designer store in Paris. Company debit card. And a pending charge below it for $7,800. Destination, Seabound Legacy Cruises. I stared at it. She was trying to pay for her honeymoon. With company money. My money. I opened the transaction details, cross-referenced the timestamp, then logged into the card's admin dashboard and froze the account. The pending charge was still sitting in limbo. I called the merchant's fraud line, provided the EIN, flagged the account for internal misuse, and requested written confirmation of the freeze. The $3,200 was gone. Not worth chasing down in court. But the attempt was what mattered. Because now I had her strategy on record. It was bigger than betrayal. She wasn't just cheating on me. She was siphoning money from our company while trying to cast herself as the clean victim in some broken fairy tale. I screen captured everything. Every charge, every login timestamp, every invoice. Then I opened a spreadsheet and created a new tab labeled Evidence, Personal Misuse of Company Funds. I added a note beneath it. Attempted to use LV business account to fund engagement/honeymoon trip with Brent S. Unauthorized charge caught and stopped. First direct breach of fiduciary duty. Documented. And just like that, the legal war chest started to fill. She wanted a new life. She could have it. But she was going to pay for it in full. By Friday, it stopped being personal and started getting surgical. The first email came from Annette Stanton, a long-term client and probably the biggest corporate account Luster Voyages had. She'd been using us for years to plan her executive retreats and international symposiums. The subject line on her email was polite but telling. Quick clarification, new company? Her message was even more revealing. Hi Darren. I just received a call from Brent, I believe he's Tessa's associate, offering to transition my upcoming events to a new, luxury consulting brand. Said you were stepping away from the company. Just wanted to confirm with you directly. Hope all is well. Annette. I sat back, rereading that second sentence. He said I was stepping away from the company. That smug little bastard was trying to poach my clients. I opened Instagram and typed in Verve Voyages, the name Brent had mentioned in passing before during a team lunch back when he was still pretending to be an intern who wanted to absorb the business from the inside. Sure enough, there it was. A shiny new account. 4 posts. 0 originality. Photos of Venice. Champagne on a yacht. The exact aesthetic we'd built at Luster, only flatter, faker, and running on stolen playbooks. Their bio read, curated luxury escapes for discerning global travelers. Let your new voyage begin. Sparkles. Unbelievable. I opened our CRM. Looked at the logs. 2 clients had gone silent in the past week, both regulars who suddenly stopped replying after Tessa's Venice stunt. I cross-referenced the timestamps. One had viewed our proposal email the same day Verve posted their second promo image. I felt something tighten behind my eyes. It wasn't just cheating anymore. It was a coordinated extraction. Tessa and Brent weren't just running off into a sunset, they were trying to strip mine the company I built on my back. She was feeding him contact info, targeting legacy clients, and rewriting the narrative. I imagined the pitch. Darren's pulling back. We're launching something more modern. More you. I opened a new document and titled it Client Poaching, Timeline and Comms. Then I called Marcus. Marcus O'Brien has been my attorney since I first invested in Luster. He's the kind of guy who drinks black coffee, sends emails at 3 a.m. and can smell a breach of contract before you even sign the paper. He picked up on the second ring. Tell me you've got something good, he said. I've got something better, I replied. They're stealing clients. That got his attention. I explained the call from Annette, the new brand, the duplicate marketing, and how Brent was using his former role at Luster Voyages to undercut our client base, possibly with inside intel which I suspected Tessa had provided. By the end, Marcus was quiet. Then he said, okay, that's actionable. They're not even being subtle. What's our move? He didn't hesitate. You issue a cease and desist. We freeze their access to client data. We pull NDAs, audit employee communications, and initiate a full IP protection request. If they keep poking, we bring misappropriation of proprietary material into the divorce proceedings. Good, I said. Do it. And then I added by Monday. Because here's the thing about people like Brent, they think they're being smart. Charming. Disruptive. But I've worked in marine logistics for 12 years. I deal in routes, freight, value chains, and what Tessa forgot is that I also deal in piracy. And now? They were flying the wrong flag in the wrong waters. And I was about to sink their little rebranded dinghy before it even left port. By Monday morning, it was clear they weren't just poaching clients, they were rewriting history. Luster Voyages Instagram, once a careful blend of soft-glow travel photography and brand philosophy, had shifted in tone. The captions no longer mentioned our founder duo. No, our story. Every post now highlighted Tessa's vision, Tessa's curation, Tessa's clientele. It was like I had never existed. And worse? I couldn't log in. I tried every credential I'd ever used. My recovery email wasn't linked anymore. The admin dashboard showed my user access as revoked. She had locked me out of the company's entire digital identity. Instagram, LinkedIn, our website CMS. Even our business email forwarding was rerouted. My @lustervoyages.com address was now bouncing. Clean cut. I sat in my office, fingers laced behind my head, staring at my blank inbox. My throat burned. She was doing it slowly, surgically scrubbing me from the back end like a bad memory. Not just erasing me from the business, but from its origin story. From the truth. And still, I didn't yell. I didn't call her. I didn't leave voicemails or send 2 a.m. texts. I opened our cloud drive. I had to find something. Some leverage. Backups. Passwords. Logs. Anything. The first 2 hours were a graveyard. Outdated files, client invoices, itinerary drafts from 2020. Nothing I didn't already have. But then, buried in a shared folder titled Operations, Legacy Tech Handoff, I found a Word doc. It was old, maybe from year 1, but when I opened it, my jaw went slack. Master account registry, updated 2018. There it was. Instagram login, Twitter, web host, Squarespace CMS, domain registry, even the original Gmail address we used to register the company on day one. All with passwords. Not all current, maybe, but close. And I recognized something else. Tessa never updated passwords. She reused. I told her a dozen times that was dangerous. She said it was efficient. So I opened a private browser and tried logging into Instagram using the old credentials. Nothing. Then I tried the Gmail. Success. The original admin email still active. Still receiving recovery links. I initiated a password reset on Instagram, changed the security email back to mine, waited for the ping. When the code landed in my inbox, I copied, pasted, hit submit, and watched as the login screen blinked once, then opened. I was in. The page loaded, and suddenly I had control again. I sat there in silence for a moment, just staring at the dashboard. The follower count, the analytics, the captions Brent had written, the posts that pretended I was never there. Then I changed the password, turned on two-factor authentication, removed every user but me. I opened the last post they made, an image of champagne on a yacht with the caption "New Routes, Same Excellence," and edited it. I replaced the caption with, "Update from management. Luster Voyages remains under original ownership and legal oversight. All client communication should come through official channels only. Any third-party solicitations are unauthorized and under legal review." Then I posted a new image. Just our logo, stark black and white. Statement coming soon. Hashtag Luster Voyages, hashtag original founder. I logged into Twitter, did the same thing. Then I sat back and breathed for what felt like the first time in 2 weeks. Not because it fixed everything. Not because I'd won. But because I'd stopped bleeding. She could try to scrub my name from the business. But the infrastructure, what I built, ran too deep. She forgot I was the one who registered the domains. The one who handled hosting, billing, frameworks. I was the architect of the engine. She just polished the chrome. And now, the chrome was dented. But the engine was mine again, and I was preparing to take the wheel back. Fully, finally, with evidence, receipts, and full admin rights. Because she lit the match. But I was the one writing the exit strategy. The divorce became a siege. Slow, grinding, and expensive. Tessa hired a boutique firm in Seattle that specialized in reputation-forward family law. I recognized the type immediately. High-end lawyers with Instagram bios and ring lights, the kind who sold empowerment through curated PR. They didn't just fight for their clients, they managed the optics. Her opening volley came in the form of a 12-page brief. She claimed that Luster Voyages wasn't really a business, but a marital facade. A shell used to obscure joint assets. According to her team, my 70% stake was an illusion created to launder community funds into my control. I laughed out loud when I read that line. Then I handed the entire thing to Marcus, who didn't laugh at all. "They're trying to burn it down to ash," he said, flipping through the pages. "If they can make Luster look like a vanity project instead of an LLC, they can gut your majority claim." "They can't win that," I said. But my voice was quieter than I wanted it to be. "No," he said, "but it'll cost you everything to prove it." And he was right. The next few weeks turned into trench warfare. Motion after motion. Subpoenas. Depositions. Every dollar I'd invested was now a battleground. Every decision I'd made, every contract signed, every vendor invoice was pulled into question. Tessa's narrative? I was controlling, emotionally rigid. I used money as leverage. She told the lawyers that Luster was never hers to begin with, just a vision I allowed her to manage. It was disgusting, but it was smart. Because while she fed that version of events to her attorneys, Brent was doing his part in the court of public opinion. I started hearing whispers through ex-clients, colleagues, even my accountant. They said I'd frozen Tessa out of her own company, that I was spiteful, bitter, that I'd gone full corporate overlord because I couldn't handle being left. It was surreal. 7 years of loyalty, of funding, of silence. And now I was the monster, Meanwhile, the costs mounted. Every legal hour, every filing fee, every forensic accountant I hired to comb through our books to prove, again and again, that the money had always been mine. I remember one afternoon, sitting in my office, hunched over a spreadsheet, redlining expenses that would need explaining. I looked up and caught my own reflection in the black window glass. Unshaven, tired, angry. That's when it hit me. She didn't need to win. She just needed to wear me down. But I didn't break. Instead, I documented everything. I had screenshots of Brent contacting clients while still on our payroll, emails with timestamps, expense reports showing Tessa's post-engagement purchases through the company card, our Slack history where she pitched Verve voyages under the table, and when Marcus submitted our full response with receipts, contracts, and financial trails, we knew it landed hard. Because Tessa's next move was silence. No counterbriefs. No new motions. Just quiet. Her side was recalculating. Retreating. Likely realizing their PR campaign was useless in front of a judge who cared about numbers, not hashtags. I still remember Marcus looking up at me from across the conference table one day and saying, "You're winning. But you're going to lose more before it's over." And he was right. I was losing time, energy, faith, friends who didn't bother asking for my side of the story. But not once did I consider walking away. Because I wasn't just fighting for what she took. I was fighting for the truth. For the version of events that didn't come with filters and soft lighting. For the man who built something real and had the receipts to prove it. And if I had to bleed in discovery to get there, then I'd bleed. But I wouldn't let her write the ending. By the time the dust settled at least enough to see through, I knew one thing for certain: I couldn't rebuild Luster Voyages alone. The brand was scorched. Clients were hesitant. And even though I had full control of the digital assets again, the soul of the company felt gutted. Tessa had built its public face. She handled the sparkle, the connections, the aesthetic. I handled the bones. Together, we worked. Apart, I had the frame, but it was hollow. So I did what I do best. I mapped a new route. First, I stripped Luster down to its essentials. I quietly restructured the LLC. I closed the old bank accounts, opened new ones. I brought on a new bookkeeper, someone I trusted from the maritime world. No more stylists with business cards. Then I started looking for a partner. Not a figurehead. A real operator. That's when Claudia's name came up. Claudia DeWitt. She'd been the executive planner for a competing travel firm in San Francisco, the kind of company that threw words like experiential immersion around like candy. I'd met her once at a luxury conference in Miami years ago. She was sharp, relentless, and completely passed over by her former employer for a promotion she'd earned twice over. I found her LinkedIn. She had quietly left the agency 6 weeks earlier. I sent her a message. "Me. Would love to talk. I'm rebuilding something. Your name keeps coming up for all the right reasons." She replied within an hour. 2 Zoom calls later, we met in person at a rooftop bar in Portland, halfway between us. I laid out everything. What had happened. Where I stood. What I needed. I expected hesitation. But Claudia just nodded, then leaned in across the table and said, "If we do this, it's co-ownership. No vanity title. No creative director fluff. I build the system, I get the equity." "Done," I said. 50-50. That was the beginning of Viridian Retreats. We spent the next 3 months rebranding everything. Claudia brought structure, clarity, and a fresh edge to the business that I hadn't realized we needed. She had a gift for seeing what travelers really wanted: quiet luxury, yes, but also reliability, flexibility, real service. She rewrote our vendor playbook, streamlined our ops, introduced a new design team. She even insisted on hiring a full-time customer care manager, which I thought was overkill at first until it wasn't. Where Luster had leaned hard into image, Viridian leaned into trust. We launched with zero fanfare. No splashy marketing. No dramatic announcements. Just a clean website. A sleek client portal. And one line on the homepage. Private travel elevated quietly. It was Claudia's idea. I loved it immediately. By the end of that quarter, we had 3 clients on retainer and 2 new bookings from former Luster contacts who'd reached out quietly, cautiously, to see what I was up to. And this time, I wasn't just the numbers guy in the background. I was co-founder, co-owner, strategist. And for the first time since Tessa had sunk a knife in my back on a gondola in Venice, I didn't feel like I was patching holes in a sinking ship. I felt like I was at the helm of something better. Something real. The real turning point came with an email from Annette Stanton. She'd been quiet ever since the blow-up with Tessa and Brent, keeping her distance like most of our legacy clients. I didn't blame her. She ran a Fortune 500 firm and had a reputation to protect. But when she reached out again, her tone was different. Subject: Viridian, possible partnership opportunity. Her message was brief. Darren, I've been watching from a distance. Heard you've built something new. I'm planning an international leadership symposium. Lisbon, Bali, Marrakesh. Full buyout. High expectations. If you're ready, I'd like to work with you again. Hey. Claudia and I stared at the screen in silence for a full 30 seconds before she finally said, "This is it." And it was. The event was massive. Over 100 executives. 6 countries. For private jets. Every last itinerary had to be airtight, with bespoke experiences tailored to CEOs who'd seen it all. No margin for error. No space for excuses. But Claudia was a machine. She handled the ground teams in every city. She coordinated the speakers, secured Michelin star chefs for each evening's event, and somehow, God knows how, got a last-minute clearance for a private after-hours dinner inside the Geronimo's monastery. I focused on the infrastructure, flight bookings, back-end logistics, insurance coverage, vendor payouts, real-time route tracking. It was like old times, only better, smoother, more collaborative. No passive-aggressive email chains. No glamorous detours. No Instagram stories interrupting the work. Just real execution. And it paid off. The Lisbon finale alone was featured in Elite Itineraries magazine, one of the biggest names in luxury travel. The write-up was glowing. Viridian Retreats may be a newcomer, but their command of precision and experience management rivals industry veterans. With Claudia DeWitt's intuitive event direction and co-founder Darren Pace's logistical brilliance, they've created a model that blends art and architecture with operational excellence. Claudia framed the article and hung it on the office wall. But the real victory came in our inbox. A flood of inquiries, retainers, booking requests, high-value leads. Executives who'd attended the symposium wanted more. Annual retreats, loyalty programs, even family travel planning. And with each new contact, we saw the same quiet whisper between the lines. Tessa who? Because Viridian wasn't just gaining traction. It was replacing luster. Not with flash, but with trust. With results. With a brand that didn't need smoke and mirrors to sell itself. The final confirmation came in the form of a text. One Claudia received from a former colleague. Just heard Brent's company folded. Tessa burned through their retainer fund. Website's gone. IG's wiped. Word is they're blacklisted from at least 3 vendors. We didn't celebrate. Not out loud. But later that night, I poured us 2 bourbons and said, "You know what's better than revenge?" Claudia raised an eyebrow. "What?" I held up my glass. "Replacement." We clinked. Because in the end, they didn't just lose the clients or the brand. They lost the story. And we were the ones writing the next chapter. I sold the house 3 weeks after the Viridian Symposium went viral. It wasn't a rushed decision. I'd been thinking about it for a while, ever since I realized the house wasn't really mine anymore. Not in the way that mattered. Every room felt like a leftover. The guest towels still folded the way Tessa liked. The wine glasses she never used. The scent of eucalyptus from the linen closet she had once curated for ambience. It wasn't a home. It was a museum of a marriage that ended on a gondola. I found a condo downtown, modern, clean, nothing too big. 18th floor, corner unit, glass on 2 sides. It didn't come with any ghosts, just space, silence, and a balcony where I could drink coffee in the morning without wondering if someone was going to text me about floral invoices. The sale went through fast. I paid off the last of the legal fees the same day the closing check cleared. No debt, no ties, not even a shared forwarding address. Tessa never asked for anything from the house. Not the dishes, not the photos, not even the ring I left in the safe. I think she knew better. Or maybe she just didn't care anymore. Either way, it was clean. And I needed clean. Now, I split my time between Viridian meetings and logistics contracts. I still work in marine operations a few days a week. I like the numbers, the predictability. It reminds me I'm good at things that don't lie. Vessels, freight routes, deadlines. But I also co-run a travel company now. A thriving one. Claudia and I signed another six-figure client last Tuesday. She called it a quiet little victory. I just nodded and smiled. She gets it. She never asks about Tessa. Never pries. She knows that what matters is what we're building now, not what was stolen. As for Tessa and Brent, I haven't heard from them since the cease and desist letters went out. I know through the grapevine that they're done. The brand folded. Their names are on a few blacklist threads in the planner forums Claudia reads. One vendor claimed Brent stiffed him on a Portugal booking and tried to blame the hotel. It's almost funny, in a way. She took the pretty parts, the sparkle, the staged photos, but I took the infrastructure. And it turns out you can't run anything without the structure. She fades a little more every month. I don't stalk her socials. I don't ask about her through mutuals. But once in a while, a new client mentions her name in passing, usually with a frown or a story about a missed payment, and I just sip my coffee and listen. I'm not bitter. Not anymore. That's the part no one tells you about betrayal. It burns, yeah, but then it becomes quiet. It fades into shape. You stop thinking about the person. You start thinking about the lesson. What did I learn? That trusting someone doesn't make you weak, but ignoring the red flags does. That contracts protect more than money. They protect truth. That being calm in chaos isn't passive, it's tactical. Mostly, I learned that sometimes the best revenge is not revenge at all. It's living. It's walking into your condo at sunset, opening a bottle of wine you bought for yourself, standing at the window, and feeling absolutely no need to explain where you are or who you've become. I'm Darren. Still 35. Still in Tacoma. Still steady. Not whole, maybe, but intact. And no one, not Tessa, not Brent, not 100 sunsets in Venice, can take that from me again.